So thank you for being here today. So let's go ahead and just get down into it. Rocks and A-Champs offer some great benefits to players. What have you seen in their use that can offer some benefits to the players that you're coaching?
So whenever I think about a player and the advancement of a player, I think every player has to have at least the five fundamentals at a good level to then advance to the next stage, right? So you have to be able to pass, dribble, shoot, receive the ball, and head the ball. And so I think whenever you take technology and you associate it to equipment that's used on the field to help a player, I think you then can start from a very simplistic place and sort of progress based on how they develop. And so an example is with the different rocks, for example, you can have a player just obviously dribble through them, right? And you can test in the beginning, it's more of just, all right, you're getting through them. And after a while, it could be speed, it could be, because you're starting to advance the skill, if you will. I think the other part of it is that you have the ability then to work on visionary things, right? So if you're dribbling and then all of a sudden the light on the right is associated to a small goal, and once you come out of whatever it is you're dribbling through, it could be a bunch of mannequins with lights on there, then all of a sudden when you come out, bang, you're hitting that goal as opposed to the one on the left, and you hit that one because now you see peripherally and you have that vision. Whether that player's, in your mind, the idea could be the player's actually marked or he's not marked, and that's why you're shooting to that goal. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but I think the interesting thing is that how basic you can start, but then how progressive you can get to at a very advanced level as well.
Yeah, and I like that you said it's you touched on where you can start. Sporting's known for having a great youth academy and a great system, that awesome just path to pro. We've seen it the past couple of years with a lot of the players you've included in that first team. How do you see Rocks and A-Champs kind of working into maybe that youth system at the very bottom to kind of help develop them for that next level?
Yeah, again, you guys have been around the complex now, right? And you see everything that we have here, and then our other training facility, which is for our pro player pathway, which is all of our academy and our second team, if you will. And so for them, it's really being able to start at a very simplistic level for them, something very basic. The rebounders are tremendous. The ability for a player to start working there where there's no opponent. It's just a very simple idea in that, hey, you're gonna play a ball for a rebounder, maybe you're using two and a light flashes, and now you play to the other side or you play back to that side, and it's already getting him in the idea of surveying the field, looking around, seeing the game, more so than just looking at the ball. And so I think that's a easy place. I think the other is that a lot of times in whether it's in all sports, you work on something, you wind up also working on something else, and you don't even realize it. So if I'm working on my vision and passing, well, you got to remember, I also have to pass the ball correctly. Yeah. And if I don't execute correctly, then I got to start again. And I think all those things will help as these kids progress through. The other is that we already have, as you guys know, we have a design, and now we're going to create our own what we'll call our Sporting Kansas City room, which is basically an area where players will actually enter, and they will actually perform a series of different types of exercises that are associated to all those things I mentioned: passing, dribbling, receiving, shooting, heading the ball, and then it'll eventually progress into crossing the ball. And all that will be with the rocks. It'll be then also taking the lights and associating them to mannequins, associating them to areas around the goal where you want them to be able to shoot to. So there's a lot of different exercises, again, that will progress to hopefully make that player available to play in the first team one day.
Yeah, and I like that you kind of touched on that, all the different ways you can utilize rocks. Tell me a little bit about how cool it is just to have that creativity, to not just have a standard, set your cones out and go about it, but you can kind of create whatever you want and make it your own to, like you mentioned, develop that youth player in your pathway.
Well, I think that's the beauty of coaching. And I say that because I think, just look at soccer, right? You have a coach that plays 3 in the back, another coach that plays 5 in the back, another one plays 4 in the back. You have 2 center forwards, you have 1. So you, and all different systems, all different styles of play can win. And so it's never done the same way by any 2 coaches. And so it's the same thing. That's the creativity of the game. So you can find different ways to develop and enhance a player. I also think the beauty of this is that it's like anything. No matter how much I want a player to be successful, or his parents per se, because we're also talking youth
Yeah.
and youth players,
Yeah.
right? The other ones,
There's more than one aspect of it.
correct, and there's all different levels that you go through. But when you take that idea that, yeah, I want the player to be really, to get to a high level, and so does their parents. But that doesn't mean anything unless the player wants to. And so there's another piece to this that I think is incredibly helpful, and that is players need to be able to be self-aware. They need to be able to self-assess, and they need to be able to self-correct. And it gives you the ability to have a player that can, because it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
You can use them and set them up yourself, and you can also figure out ways to improve yourself because of those three things, right? Being self-aware, self-assessment, and then self-correction. And as you get better, you can make your exercises more difficult based on how well you're progressing.
And it kind of plays almost into that competitive nature. I mean, I know you've been somewhat competitive out here with them. I've seen some of the players out here with them. It really does lend itself to kind of that, I want to better myself, but I can also beat my teammates.
Well, especially when you have the app, you can then log whatever your scores are based on whatever it is that you're doing. And then everybody can see the leaderboard. And now all of a sudden, I mean, these guys don't make it to this level if they're not competitive, right?
Yep.
So it's already built in. And so now all of a sudden everybody's trying to outdo the next. And that's exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Yep. Now we do have some partnerships from what I've heard coming. You have a partnership with A-Champs, and you guys are going to be designing a few drills, doing some videos with them, kind of helping, like you mentioned, those kids be able to see maybe some drills that the next level players are doing. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of what maybe that individual player should be looking forward to seeing in some of those.
So like in anything, right, you have a dedicated person that oversees a certain aspect of your business. And so we have a dedicated person that will be working directly in this space for us and all of our players. And for us, it's called the IDP, or it's the individual development plan for every player. And we already do that, but this is going to, in my opinion, take it to the next level. And so the exercises that we continue to develop through what we feel is working with our players and is continuing to help them progress, they then will be available for others to see and hopefully emulate.
All right. And last question for you here. Do you have a favorite drill that you go to using these?
I'm a big believer on sort of the pass, the receive, and then be able to hit the next target. I think it's everything about the game, right? And so for me, there's a few ways that you can do it. You can do it where there's other players assisting as you receive a ball, or the great thing is that you don't need other players, where you can use the rebounders to actually play the ball yourself, receive it, and find your next target, right? And so for me, I think that's one of the, it's probably the most useful and probably the most beneficial in the early stages. But then I think as time goes on, there's other things that you can do where when you're shooting, you can dribble through some type of obstacle, and then once you get out, the upper corner or the lower right-hand corner, your light pops on, and that's what you're trying to hit. And I think that gives you great recognition on the field. Yeah,
it really does kind of help hone in that individual development. Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was great, and we look forward to this relationship and advancing our players through another opportunity on skill development.
Perfect. Well, we got some guys out here right now. What do you say we go watch them run through some stuff?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Thank you.